Hello and welcome to this session, which will take you through the new features delivered in Cumulocity IoT during the first quarter of 2024. My name is Anne Pilatus-Keller and I work in Cumulocity IoT ecosystem. The new features and updates are presented by the product managers. Enhancements include device management, streaming analytics, application enablement, and platform services. You will also find new features concerning Cumulocity IoT Edge.
Hello everyone and welcome to the What's New update of device management and connectivity for the first quarter of 2024. My name is Aaron Raab and I'm the product manager for both of these two topics. Our first topic for today is the device replacement wizard. I will then speak about the X509 certificate support for Lightweight M2M, followed by the new Lightweight M2M configuration tab. At one point, any of your device will reach its end of life, break or run out of battery and needs to be replaced. But this doesn't need to be the case for the underlying asset, for example when you want to replace the tracker of your truck or upgrade the PLC of your CNC mill. Just onboarding new device would lead to a situation where historical data of one asset is distributed across multiple entities. This is why we already provide identity management functionality and differentiate between internal and external IDs, allowing users to map data of the new replacement device to the internal ID of the old device. In order to use that functionality, users had to modify the internal ID manually, which is not ideal from a usability perspective. With the new device replacement wizard, we now guide users through all the steps required, like selecting the device that should be replaced, selecting the new device, and automatically deleting the old one. In order to do that, the new device first needs to be registered. Here you can see how this process would look like in the platform. Our next topic is the X509 certificate support for devices communicating via Lightweight M2M. Secure communication channels are of course of utmost importance in any IoT use case. The Lightweight M2M stack not only builds on top of the TLS, the UDP equivalent to TLS, but also incorporates multiple security modes to provide an additional security layer. Until now, we only supported the use of pre-shared keys, but now introduced with X509 certificates a second option. Using X509 certificates provides a variety of benefits, like having an option to provision the certificates already during the manufacturing process of the device, eliminating the need to share the private key information and being able to disable certificates, thereby elevating the overall level of security of your deployment. Due to the introduction of X509 certificates, we had to cover even more options than we had before, as Lightweight M2M not only provides an extensible data model, but also multiple different configuration options to tailor it to your hardware and use cases. To allow users to configure Lightweight M2M related and device specific options, not only during the registration process, but also afterwards, we provided the so-called Lightweight M2M Bootstrap parameter tab, which provides access to any of those options in one view. As the tab was already quite complex and additional options needed to be covered for the certificates, we decided to create a new Lightweight M2M configuration tab, replacing the old one, where the different options are grouped into 5 different subtabs, making it easier for you to find the options you're looking for. That's already it for device management and connectivity. If you're interested in the full list of changes, please check out our changelog, which you can access via the left QR code. In case you have any suggestions or ideas, please share them with us by raising them on AHA. In case you have any questions, please don't hesitate and reach out to me. Goodbye and see you next time.
Let's talk about what's new in streaming analytics with the first quarter of 2024 in Cumulocity. First up, we've got the new ability for Analytics Builder to work with all inputs. So you can create a single model that works with all the items in the platform, all the data in the platform that can be used as inputs, and create a single model that works with them. So the example I've got here is I've got a single model that looks at the temperature, fragment and series data coming in from any measurement from any device and will raise an alarm when the temperature exceeds 100. So it's an easy way to create a single model that works regardless of the devices you've got, or the device groups or the smart groups that pick up the devices. You can create a single model that works with everything. Next, we've got the ability for Analytics Builder to work with predefined selection lists. So if you're using template parameters to allow the user to parameterize your Analytics Builder models, you can now specify a predetermined selection list for the user to choose from. So in this example, I've provided some values to help the user choose the temperature threshold, but you could easily, just as easily, provide other selection lists, such as lists with strings or textual values in, as well as numeric. The constant value block has been updated, so it now supports floats and booleans. This makes it just a little bit easier to use with more use cases, and you can use it in combination with blocks such as the logic and aggregate blocks as well. If you're using EPL apps, then there's now a new sample based on requests from many customers that shows how to create an app that receives and processes update notifications. So it's not many lines of EPL code, but it's a common request when people are getting started using EPL, is how do I respond to when my managed object or when my events or measurements are received or updated. So that sample should help people get started very quickly. We've got a nice UI improvement when you're selecting your input source inside Analytics Builder. We've now got a filter bar which allows you to determine the devices you're selecting as inputs. So if you have a lot of devices, you can now use the filter to restrict what you're seeing when you're searching for an input source. And if you choose other, then that other category is not about your generic devices, but it's about other items in the platform which can be used as an input source. It might be a file or other managed objects in the platform. The diagnostic zips are a really good way to download the current state of what's going on in streaming analytics, so you can use them to help you debug your applications. And the diagnostic zip used to be in the canvas at the bottom of the screen. We've now moved it for cleanliness reasons over to the right drawer on the right of the screen, just beneath the support section. There's a new addition for Analytics Builder primarily to help with the accessibility. So if you are struggling to read visually an Analytics Builder model on the screen, then you can copy and paste the JSON code to a clipboard and then view that in a notepad or into a text editor or JSON editor, and then you can have your favorite screen reader or your favorite tools to modify or to read that JSON code, and then you can paste it back in from the clipboard into Analytics Builder with any changes you've made. So primarily used for improving accessibility, but also a nice improvement if you want to manually edit your Analytics Builder models outside of Cumulocity. We've improved EPL based on feedback from customers and developers. There's quite a few improvements here. First of all, listeners and stream listeners which raised an exception, which if you did not catch could cause the monitor to terminate, and the EPL app would silently stay inactive, and you might not spot this. It was okay if you caught the exception using a try-catch block, but more often than not, new developers in particular, were writing code that did not always use a try-catch block, and any exceptions would prevent their application running. So now, if an exception is thrown, we stop handling the current event, and the monitor is still there to process future incoming events, which helps your applications be more robust. For concatenation, you can combine different data types now. So I've got a nice simple example of a text string saying welcome plus a number 2024. So that makes concatenation easier. We've got some new convenience methods if you're using sequences and dictionaries, and the example I've given here is the new getOr method, which allows you to get an item from a sequence at an index, and if it doesn't exist at that index, then you can return a default values instead. If you're using sequences, you can now use negative indices to reference items from the end of a sequence. So a -2, a -2 index refers to the penultimate item in that sequence. If you're creating sequences of any, there was a slight quirk in the past where you had to cast the first item as an any to indicate that the sequence was to be constructed of any's. You now don't need to do that. You can now just use the data types without forcing the casting of the first item to be an any. And if you're creating actions, functions, then the result does not need to be processed. You can actually call the action without catching without handling the result. Just makes the code a little bit easier if you don't need the result every time. And we've got a new base64 EPL plugin which allows you to do encoding and decoding from base64. Makes it a bit easier to handle binary data within EPL. Again, with the robustness, we have prevented the isCreate and isUpdate actions from throwing exceptions if they fail. Now they simply return a false, which makes it easier to write an application which doesn't use the try-catch exception handling, and it should improve robustness as a result. And if you're using HTTP connectivity, then you can now use the max response options to restrict the size of the responses coming from the server. So you can manage really large responses from a server that you weren't expecting. And there's a few ways you can use that, either by configuring the transport or within the predefined event definitions, which make working with HTTP a little bit easier from EPL. And that's it for this Q1 release. Thanks for listening.
Hi everyone, I'm Rahul Talreja, Product Manager for IoT Applications, and in this video we'll be discussing what's new with Application Enablement in Cumulocity IoT 2024 Q1 release. This release brings an update to the grid system used for positioning of widgets on the dashboard. Previously, we had a grid layout of 12 columns, which has been now increased to 24 columns. This provides you even more granular control on the widget placement. You can utilize this for finer adjustment to the layout of widgets on the dashboard. This update applies only to the visual layout of the dashboards. No changes has been made to the underlying functionality of the widgets over here. In case you are utilizing the same dashboard on the different versions of the application, we strongly recommend you upgrading all the versions to include this update. This will help you to have a consistent behavior and avoid any issues between the different versions. With this release, we are introducing capability to bookmark frequently visited sections with a single click in the right navigation bar. This can help you to save time and efforts by providing quick access to the things you use most often, such as devices, dashboards, alarms, etc. Let's see this in action. You can access the same from the right navigation and add any bookmark via the Add Current Page button. You can access any of these previously bookmarked item and also edit the list of bookmarks. You can reorder them, you can delete them, or you can change the name as well. Now coming to the Digital Twin Manager. One of the most powerful features of Digital Twin Manager is complex properties in the property library. Complex properties allows you to define multiple key value pairs in a single property. A lot of users are utilizing this functionality but reported that they are unable to define the order of these key value pairs. With this release, we have changed this. We now allow you to define the order of these complex properties, which provides you even much better control on these complex properties. You can now use this order and accordingly display the properties onto any application. Previously, in Digital Twin Managers, users had to manually create a location property, which requires them to manually define the fragments and then use that to enable asset visualization on the maps in other applications. But with the latest release, we have added a default property called locations in the property library of Digital Twin Manager. You can now use this property and assign it to any asset model. This further simplifies the process of assigning a location to an asset. Let's see this in action. You'll be now able to notice a location property in the property library of Digital Twin Manager. This consists of all the required fragments. Now let's add this property in any of the existing asset model, in this case a factory. After assigning the required property, navigate to any of the existing assets or create a new one. You will be able to notice a new property appearing in the properties section of this asset. You can edit it and you can either manually fill in the location or either select directly on the map. Now coming to the extensions approach. With this release, developers can now easily define version metrics for the extensions in its cumulocity.json file. This metrics will be utilized by the platform to display warnings in case the extensions are being installed in a version for which they are not yet compatible or have yet to be tested. Additionally, a similar version filtering capability has been added to the repository connect for synchronizing packages from GitHub repository. Developers can now specify the exact versions to be synchronized with the platform. The microservice automatically synchronizes that version but removes any other uploaded version not listed in the metrics. This provides a streamlined version management to the developers and allows them to easily control the versions they want to be available to the users utilizing different application versions. Last month, we also introduced Cumulocity IoT Codex. Whether you are an internal developer enhancing our platform or a partner creating solutions on top of Cumulocity IoT, Codex equips you with everything you need. This provides you access to UI guidelines, development resources, reusable components, helper utilities, custom icons, and helps you to unlock the full potential of building solutions on top of Cumulocity IoT. You can directly access the Cumulocity IoT Codex from our documentation website. In addition to these updates, we have also introduced many other minor enhancements. We consistently incorporate such improvements using insights from our customer interviews and also on the basis of feedback we gather through our feedback portal. For an example, in this release, we have also added an option to add a logo during the deployment process of blueprints or cloning of the applications. The similar option has been also made available to existing applications that were either cloned or deployed via blueprints. Similarly, there are many other more enhancements done in the current release. To access the complete list of changes, please scan the QR code to view the changelog. These changelog includes new features, bug fixes, and other improvements as well. If you'd like to share any suggestions or idea, please scan the QR code to submit them on AHA. We would be very happy to review the same and provide our response. Additionally, I have also included my contact details in the previous page if you like to directly connect with the product management team. I would like to thank you for watching the video till the end. I appreciate your time and attention.
Hello and welcome to What's New in Platform Services for Cumulocity IoT 2024 Q1. My name is Jane Porter and I'm the Product Manager for Platform Services. We are going to start with security, which forms the vast majority of the updates for Q1. And the first of these is around device permissions. The devices role is used for all devices that connect to Cumulocity IoT, and part of the permissions for that devices role provides inventory access for everything in the inventory. From the Q1, you'll now be able to split that out into two new permissions called binary and managed object, which does what it says on the tin, thus enabling you to give your devices the least possible authorization and still enable them to do the actions that they need to do. This is a really good security improvement and will enable devices to have the least amount of permission possible. So continuing on the theme of security then, we will also be supporting the CRL, which is the certificate revocation list. So what does this mean? Well, when your devices connect to Cumulocity and use their X509 certificate to authenticate, they will now be checked against the certificate revocation list to make sure that the certificate is still valid. This is a really good improvement on certificate management, and the CRL can be held both online and offline, giving our users real flexibility in how they want to configure their tenant. Some additional updates for the security. I did say that it was a theme running through this. Administrators will no longer be able to explicitly set passwords for users. Instead, you will be able to say that a user has to reset their password. And this again is a really good improvement and aligns Cumulocity with best practice. Another nice update is that we've upgraded MongoDB to version 6 so that we stay current with the latest version available. And last but not least, we have a feature preview. And the feature preview is for holding the latest measurement value. Up to now, it has been a little difficult to synchronize the device state with the data points that are sent into the platform. So now what you can do is you can say, I want to actually store the latest measurement value and be able to retrieve that. I've included links here on to documentation on how you enable the feature and also how you use the additional information from the API. That concludes the update for Q1 for platform services. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch with any feedback, please do so. My name is Jane Porter. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nick Panamar and I am a product manager for Cumulocity Edge and product infrastructure. And I'm here to talk to you about what's new in Cumulocity Edge. With the latest release, we enable Cumulocity Edge on Kubernetes. Our new deployment flavor enables you to use cloud-native advantages on your Edge infrastructure. You can now run Edge on any CNCF certified Kubernetes cluster and remove hypervisor dependency. For more details, please have a look into our documentation. With 10.18, Edge VM appliance has been migrated to Rocky Linux. We are future-proofing our technology, mitigating the risk of CentOS end of life. If you would like to share any suggestions or ideas, you can scan the QR code to submit them on our feedback portal. We, Cumulocity IoT product management team, would be happy to get in touch with you. Additionally, I've included my contact information in the bottom left in case you would like to connect with me directly. I would like to thank you for watching this video till the end and appreciate your time and attention.